What's up, Podcast Land? Episode number 102, featuring Johnny Franck, is brought to you by Silence in Solitude. Based out of southern New Jersey, Silence in Solitude is a metalcore quintet that consists of Shane Roxas, Colby Hempel, Cody Mitchell, Alexander Coates, and Justin Pomper. The band formed in early 2015 and made their debut in September of the following year, having spent the previous year writing and recording. They released their debut album Resurgence in December of 2016, which debuted at number 20 on iTunes metal charts. Now, that's pretty impressive, going from not being a band one year and then the following year being number 20 on the iTunes metal charts. They have also released music videos for their singles Suffering, Deceiver, and for their cover of Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You. Yeah, that's right. I know I rival Mariah. I'm coming after you, girl. Anyways, from New Transcendence, they had to say, Resurgence is a must-listen for 2016, without a doubt, especially for fans of metal and its subgenres. If you're looking for something that is emotionally powerful, but not too whiny, aggressive, but not hate-filled, and will stand the test of time, this is the album you've been searching for. For more information, visit www.silenceinsolitude.com. Episode 101 is also brought to you by Old Self, based out of Toms River, New Jersey, who were once Little League World Series champions. Yeah, that was their first claim to fame. Now their second claim to fame is Old Self. They flesh out ambient rock melodies with poetic arrangements while using people's stories as the concepts and lyricism for their songs. That's pretty cool. You could really relate to that. They help bring people's dark thoughts to the public in a very unique manner. Their hope is to reach out to not only their fan base, but to everyone that comes across them in a therapeutic way. Recently pairing up with the nonprofit organization A Voice for the Innocent, they are working on furthering their outreach in hopes they can help as many people as they can in a positive way through music. For more information, they're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram under Old Self Official. That means facebook.com/oldselfofficial, twitter.com/oldselfofficial, instagram.com/oldselfofficial. You get it now? Old Self Official. Let's get into it. Today it features Kevin speaking with Johnny Franck of the March Ahead and formerly of Attack. And it starts right now. From out of the wasteland of generic podcasts and radio shows, one has emerged. It prides itself on having conversations with the most talented musicians from all over the world. If you like a boring question and answer interview, this isn't for you. If you want deep conversations about anything and everything, you've come to the right place. Your new favorite show starts now, and its name is Behind the Barricade.
So, yeah, how you doing, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, dude. Just, Drake just dropped an album yesterday, and I kind of put everything in my life aside to pour over it and listen to it. So it's been really enjoyable, actually.
More life.
Yeah.
Oh man,
I've been digging it, man. It's been good. It's been really enjoyable, actually. So
seems like it was marketed more as a playlist than an album, because there's 30 songs on there.
Yeah, it's 22 songs, and it's pretty crazy. I don't know. I mean, I think he marketed it as a playlist because he didn't want people going in with the expectations of an album, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's there's way more pressure. And I think, he wanted to try out some new stuff. So if he called it a playlist, he'd be much more people would be much more forgiving if he tried something really wildly new and they were okay with it. So
right, yeah, because I remember that was the problem with his most recent work, right? I forget what it was called. But
Views.
What? Views, yes, Views.
Yeah.
And people were like, it's a good album, but it's not really a Drake album.
Yeah, it was a good album, and I think it sucks for him because people's expectations are just so high. It's like if he doesn't change the world on an album, then everyone hates on it. So for his ability to deliver something good with expectations that high is pretty admirable. But yeah, I think I think he does that just to lower them a little bit. So he's like, hey, you know,
So
don't come in here expecting the world to change.
Right, I'm only
But-
human. I'm only just one guy. I got a ghostwriter with me, but
Hey, dude. Yeah, I mean, he's like on views. He delivered. That's the One Dance is the most streamed song on Spotify. It's got 1 billion streams.
no, wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't know that. So, wow. I'm just kind of taking a moment to kind of let that sink in that, you know, after maybe about 10 years for a lot of our listeners, but also for me, only a couple of, you know, listening to neon, you know, keyboards and crabcore breakdowns, that I'm sitting right across from you, man. And I think that's just so legit. I loved your I loved your work with Attack Attack, and you know, from everything from Smokeahanas to, you know, the conclusion of their career with their self-titled This Means War.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a fun little section of life.
How
Yeah.
does how is it just to how does it feel to be associated with that meme of just you know, dancing crabs and, you know, lackluster musical composition in the scene?
Dude, I mean, it's whatever. It's like we made a bunch of money off the whole crabcore thing, and
Yeah.
like, you know, I think like bands get into trouble when they start getting real pissy about where people take their music. So it's like, you know, if someone pulls a screenshot from one of your music videos and starts posting it everywhere, like, you need to realize that that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. You know, they're promoting your album, and if you can take that and run with it, then, you know, it can turn into something really cool. So I don't know. I mean, like, I have a good sense of humor too. I'm not sitting here taking myself super seriously. So
Right.
I'm always just like, I don't know. I thought it was hilarious. So I don't know. I just you just got to run with it and not take yourself too seriously. Have fun with it. 'Cause I mean, the shit that they're saying is actually pretty funny. So like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
absolutely. And it's free publicity, more to the point. Like, you actually don't lose anything by having, you know, people, you know, turn your music into inside jokes.
Yeah, not at all. And honestly, like, I think what's interesting about it is that, you know, it becomes ironic, and but then, you know, you just start kind of liking it. So it's kind of an interesting phenomenon where it's like a lot of people initially used it to make fun of us, and then is like a lot of people started liking us from it. So it's like, whatever, man.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I get you. So you're an important guy. You got a lot of time, so I won't waste it reminiscing on, you know, on this pretty fun section of music. Let's talk about Bill Murray. Oh man, it's kind of, you know, you advertise yourself as a Ohio pop punk with that project, right? But it feels so much more than that. It feels so much more nuanced, and it feels like it dwells on the fringes of hardcore and even some, you know, aspects of metal, while also bringing, you know, this lovely melody, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really, Bill Murray it kind of has all happened quickly, but it's been a long time in the making. Like, I really like a lot of different eclectic styles of music, and, you know, I love hard, heavy music and like the aggression and the anger, but I also love really chill shit and pop punk and indie and all these different types of music. And I had been thinking about how can I combine all of these styles together to make something that is basically every form of music that I really enjoy. And so I kind of set out to do that a couple times, and it wasn't hitting. You know, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, I was like, I don't know. And then I started this band. It started off, I just wanted to play live music. And then as I started writing for it, I really kind of felt like I stumbled on something awesome. And I don't know, it was like I just made a musical discovery for myself and just ran with it. And I was when I was writing it, was like, man, this is, I really love this music, and I'm really excited for everyone to hear it. So yeah, it's just been really cool to see the evolution of it, and to see all the different styles and how they kind of were able to be married together.
So what I'm hearing for you is that you experienced, some sort of a musical surprise of sorts when you were writing.
Yeah, well, honestly, like I didn't like start the band out with like, oh yeah, I want to change the world or something. I was like, well, I just want to play live music, and then started thinking about what do I like, what do I want to play, and how can I incorporate all those elements. So, like you go to a hardcore show and there's that energy and there's that intensity, and I love that. But then you go to, like an acoustic show or something like that, and there's that emotion, and I was like, well, how can I marry those two things together? The intimacy of an acoustic show with the energy of a hardcore show, because those two things are my favorite. So I kind of approached Bill Murray from that angle, and kind of with that in mind, always in the back of my head, like, how's this gonna transition live, and how's this gonna work in a live setting? How are people gonna respond to this in a live setting? So I think that, that's kind of how it came together.
Right. And the reason why I say surprise is because it draws me back to something a mentor of mine once told me when I was actually doing some writing of my own for a class. And he tells me that if there's no surprise for the writer, there's no surprise for the listener. And listening to your music, I find that to be extremely true, is that, for example, when you, in a side project of Bill Murray, when I was listening to your cover of Justin Bieber under the banner The March Ahead, it starts off as this, very, soulful pop R&B, but then it segues into this, all very technical rock, and then that guitar solo in the middle that, while it would seem out of place on, for example, next to, Justin Bieber's voice, it marries this melody perfectly. And for that, and
sorry.
And that, no, you're good. And when I was listening to that, I thought that was, I felt like in hearing that, I've heard what the March Ahead is, what Bill Murray is that it's marrying these styles in such a way that normally on their own it's good, but together you can do some really great things with it.
Yeah, I'm really interested. When I go to write music, I don't want to write, like a rock song or I don't go in with that. I just think, like, what am I listening to right now? Well, okay, I'm listening to like a lot of hip hop, and I'm listening to Turnstile and hardcore music, and I'm listening to these things, and I'm like, well, I like all these different things, so why? Who is going to tell me that I can't put all that stuff in there? And why is there a rule that you can't add this element to this thing? And so I love bending and breaking the rules, and trying to just incorporate all the shit that I really love in music into one song or something like that. So yeah, I always strive to do that.
Yeah. And especially with your work on the side, when you were working with Jared Allange, on a project that aims to not take itself seriously at all, somehow you guys ended up putting together something that, it ends up painting a perfect caricature of the scene in its entirety, while also somehow delivering, a solid song that has structure, has melody, has really good production. Can you elaborate a bit more on your work with Jared?
Yeah, I've always really enjoyed humor and poking fun at things and stuff like that, and I've always had a really strong value for it, because I feel like humor, especially towards music, is used to push things forward, where it's like, all right, dude, that's some tired ass shit. Like, it's time to move on because we're picking up on the themes of it and are able to make fun of it.
Right. Absolutely.
So I think that, like, humor is really important for that. So when me and Jared got together and kind of started working on stuff, it was, I really appreciated it from that end. And I kind of at the base of it, we were like, all right, we want to make really good songs. And also, like, make really funny songs. So it's not just this terrible production with a really funny line or two, but it's like, it's kind of like, we're going to make shit that sounds as good as we possibly can. But also at the same time making fun of things. And I guess in my mind, it's in hopes to push everyone else forward, to say, hey, we're making fun of this but it's also quality. So it's like, you got to step your game up and push the genre forward, innovate it into something new that we don't know how to make fun of because, we've never heard anything like it before.
Right. So, and once you begin to pick up on those themes, once you begin to pick up on those ideas, and once it becomes stagnant enough that it boxes itself in, that's when you can start poking more fun at it. That's when you can start making more jokes about it, and that's when you can, in turn, push it along to a new direction.
Yeah, because I think that once you start making fun of it and stuff, a lot of the bands who are really trying to innovate their music will see that and be like, oh yeah, it's probably like, try and think of something different than just going for this thing that I'm used to going to, or so try to push myself to do something different.
Right.
So, I mean, that's how I view it. I think Jared, there's also the fun aspect of it too, where it's like, I love humor, I love comedy, and Jared's specific brand of humor it kills me. He's so funny.
It's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so observational, and that's what I love. He's the kind of guy who can just sit back and pick out like little like chunks of irony and funny things that maybe people wouldn't usually see, but when he like brings them to the light, you're like, wow. I didn't notice that. But he handles it really tastefully too. He's not malicious about it, which I like as well. He's not there to like piss people off or like, make some sort of like diss track or anything like that. He's just like, he's good at observing things, picking things out and commenting on them.
Yeah, because like you'll see like all of the music that he's ever actually made fun of with respect to, again, Attack, Architects, The Devil Wears Prada, Sunrise Skater Kids, whatever that's making fun of, because there's so many bands in that genre alone that get hit. It's like
we try to leave no rock unturned as far as who we want to make fun of. So.
Absolutely. So and it's like and they're all bands that he respects enough in order to try and create a good parody of.
Right. We know all the bands, the bands we make fun of. We are huge fans of, and so that's why we can make fun of it because we know it so well. We're like, oh, we've listened to these albums. We know the trends. We know the things that they do and the things that they talk about. If we didn't know enough about it, we wouldn't be able to make fun of it.
I was actually probably crying when I heard the entirety of Beating a Dead Horse because, firstly, The Swimmer and its take on Memphis May Fire, and how you guys turned that into, combined that with the Shia LaBeouf "Just Do It" meme. that killed me, and your collab with him on "I'm So Seen 2.0."
It made my soul die a little bit having to sing the line "Crabcore died with me." I was like, it's definitely like humbling. I was like, Jared, dude, are you really gonna make me fucking do this shit? And he's like, dude, it'll be funny. I'm like, damn it. But yeah, it did turn out funny, so I'm glad.
Oh, absolutely, and just like, but like that line, it's like this joke is so old, rehashed and retold, and Crabcore died with me, followed by that mosh pit call, "Kill all your friends," like. That alone should tell you so much about the state of the genre in 2016, which actually kind of pushes us into what I usually look for, when I was actually coming up with our list of Behind the Barricade's top 5 albums of 2016. We were looking at things that, sort of pushed the envelope for metal and metalcore, this past year, and looking at what made it stand out in its genre. So, my next question to you takes the form of what do you think that we can expect from this genre? This genre that people, generally tend to box it in already and assign these, standards to. What do you think that we can expect? Do you think that it can go in a new direction? Do you think it can go in a better direction, more innovative? Or do you think it's going or do you think that we're getting set up for something that we can again ruthlessly poke fun at,
Yeah. So just specifically for 2017.
Yeah, just looking ahead.
Yeah, I think about this a lot, because I love the scene. I really do.
Absolutely.
And it's like where I grew up in, and I love the energy that you get at shows and stuff like that. But I have a lot of thoughts on this too, which is cool. It's a great question. But I do not think that there will be much innovation in 2017 as far as metal scene goes. I think it'll be kind of business as usual. I don't know. I haven't heard any bands recently. That have really changed the way that I think about, metal, where it's like, wow, they're really incorporating some different cool stuff. It's just kind of more of the same old. And I have some theories on that. There's bands that are incrementally, very, very slowly. I feel like Issues was someone who, when they came out, it was like, wow, this is definitely a fresh take on the genre, and I like the direction they're going and stuff
absolutely.
like that. And as far as bands with a sound that's really, really unique, I feel like they kind of stand in a league of their own. And then, but then for that one album that's incrementally pushing things forward, there's, 30 albums that are sick, dude. You can do new metal riffs. That's cool. It's not, to me, it's not pushing the genre forward. It's not innovating and changing things. And here's why I think that is because bands are stuck in the old way of doing albums, the old way of producing and putting out music, and they're pigeon-footing themselves. So by the old way, what I'm saying is that a band is releasing an album every 2 years, every 3 years sometimes, and there's not much room for innovation if you're releasing an album every 2 years. You're not pushing. I really believe that you're not pushing yourself as a musician if you're releasing an album every 2 years, 3 years. You're going for, I want to make as much money as possible, and it's the guys who don't really give a fuck about making money as much as they care about making good music are the ones that are going to innovate and change things. So that's where I look at the state of the metal scene, and it's like, all right, the standard is an album every 2 years. And then I look at the rap scene, and I'm like, there's artists putting out 2 albums on the same day. Future just dropped 2 albums on the same day, and each album has 20 tracks on it. Drake's releasing 2 albums a year. All these huge rappers are releasing 2 albums a year, and you know why? It's because they work their ass off to push music forward and to really innovate and to put out as much work as they can and to really expend themselves. And that's why you see, if you look at the top 50 songs on Spotify, 45 of them are rap songs and none of them are rock songs. So I really feel like the rock world has to adapt and change and move into the digital age where you can produce your own music and you can put out 2-3 albums a year, no problem. So I think once rock starts doing that, that we're going to be in a really good place, because artists are going to be really challenging and pushing themselves to put out a huge body of work and to continue to innovate. And, you know, if a band puts out a couple albums a year, they're going to really have to push themselves to morph their sound into something special each time.
Absolutely. My corollary to that, actually, you mentioned that, you know, like, for example, the band Dance Gavin Dance, right? Have you heard of them?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like, just even though they drop so many, you know, albums, you know, you've got almost one every year, you know, one every 2 years. I can't put any of those albums next to each other and say that they were the same albums, right?
No, not at all.
No, and you know, and you've also got, you know, more different, you know, post-hardcore bands such as, you know, a lot like Birds, also always pushing themselves in different directions. Honestly, I realize that also says a lot about my musical taste and that it's really niche, but that but at the same time, like, yeah, like I feel as if those bands that are doing that are innovating and constantly trying to go and push themselves, their work is even harder for them because the end product is something that's not always necessarily market pliable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, it's actually interesting, too, about Dance Gavin Dance is that once they started putting out a shit ton of albums, they've been blowing up recently, man. They're getting huge. I mean, they've been a band for a long time, but they're really starting to come into their own as far as their stream numbers and people coming out to their shows and stuff like that. I mean, they're putting out good work.
And the same thing goes for Every Time I Die.
Yeah.
You know, like they're just catching, like they're catching steam. They're catching it fast. For Under Oath, when they were back when they were still actively writing material, their Only Chasing Safety was the first album that actually made the band any money, and then Define the Great Line and Onward was what catapulted them into the spotlight.
Yeah, and I think, like, you know, those are like really innovative albums, but I really do believe that the times have changed, and that technology is to a point where anyone can have a MacBook and put out studio quality albums, and albums that sound really great, and so it's really leveled the playing field and made the record process a lot more efficient. So back when Under Oath was recording albums, I mean, it would take a long time to record an album, you know, because there's all these different moving parts that they have to go with. Now, any kid can download, you know, buy a couple of plugins, download some samples, and start making, like, really great music. So I think that it's kind of shifted where the technology is now at a place where you can write just an ungodly amount of music and really push yourself forward at a faster pace.
Okay, all right.
So, but I do think that there's bands that are innovating and stuff like that, but I think that it's not at the pace that it needs to be at.
I see.
To really push rock and roll back into the mainstream.
So interesting. So like, I mean, your choice of words, I'm, you know, gonna jump on that phrase rock and roll as opposed to whatever we've been producing in the last, you know, 10, 11 years, whatever you've put out in the, you know, in the last couple of years as well. How do you class what we've been able to, you know, everything in this scene, right? Do you view it as solely metal? Do you you know, box it into, oh, this is, you know, hardcore or what have you? Do you have these strict labelings in mind whenever you listen to these bands? Whenever you listen to your own music, for that matter?
I think that it all kind of fits under an umbrella of, like, rock music.
Yeah.
That's like the big umbrella, but obviously there's so many subsets, and I've kind of moved away from trying to, like, really classify genres as much. I mean, it's a good way to be able to quickly explain to someone what type of music it is. So I think it'll always be used. But, you know, I think the age of really defined genres in the 90s is gone, and it's now, you know, just people are pulling from all different kinds of places and different things to make something unique. I feel like, you know, everything kind of sits under the rock genre, which is cool. But as far as like what metal is and stuff like that, it's kind of like trickle down. Like it gets more, you can use a broad genre, or you can use like a really specific genre, like Cali mathcore or something like that. You know,
man.
like it's like there's a couple bands in that genre, which it's nice to have those kind of like words on hand to just be like, oh, they're Cali mathcore, to someone who would understand that, and they'd be like, oh, okay, I know generally what they might sound like.
Like, you know, the Dillinger Escape Plan, or, you know, the Number 12 looks like you, really specific genre, really specific practitioners of a really specific sound.
Right.
So once like, oh yeah, they sound like those guys. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, oh, they sound like grindcore or something like that, you know? You'd be like, oh, okay, I understand what you're trying to say, or, you know?
Right.
Like, but, yeah, I'd say, like, the rock genre, you know, it makes me sad that it's not in the mainstream anymore.
Yeah, everything is, like, you go on Twitter and you go and, you know, check out, you know, people like The Word Alive, or, you know, Attila, or bands like, I'm so sorry for even, you know, mentioning those guys, but like
I don't mind. I mean, I like their music for sure.
Yeah, I just cringe, because it's great. It's so much fun to get down to, but oh man, I get sick a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, but
I think Attila is just like, they're just fun, man. It's like, if you're just trying to like fuck around and have fun, you know, like that's a band that I think should be putting out like 2-3 albums a year.
Oh yeah,
you know?
Yeah. I actually really like their latest stuff with Chaos, and I get down to Guilty Pleasure all the time.
Yeah, dude. I think that song, or that album, or Guilty Pleasure is an album, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My criticism is at least that when I go, like, if I go and check out those musicians, I see them, you know, posting stuff, you know, getting real salty about how, oh, I'm not watching the Grammys tonight, I don't need that. Like, guys, your music will never, like, the way that you guys push it is that if you continue pulling in this vein, that music will never earn its place in the Grammy spectrum, right? So it's just you know, sort of an acknowledgement of when you pick up the microphone, or when you pick up the instrument and you choose to practice this sound, you're going to get well known, but it will never reach, you know, say pop levels, such as the way that Slipknot has done, the way that, you know, other, you know, famous bands such as, you know, Judas Priest, or, you know, the more, hell, even Under Oath, they got nominated for a Grammy, you know, for their music video of Writing on the Walls, and the album notes for Lost in the Sound of Separation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just despite the fact that they're a really niche genre, they still managed to bring out that level of, you know, musicianship and skill to a point where it was, you know, brought to a lot of, you know, almost universal audience, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I feel like, it's the 21 Pilots is a band that is really innovating, though.
Absolutely.
That's one band. I mean, they are technically considered rock, but I mean, they're mostly electronic and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Which I really like. You know, it's like no one knows what box to put them in yet.
Yeah.
And I like that. It's like they don't really sit inside of a box, and I think that that's a good sign for a band, is when people are like, "What the hell is this?" Like, I don't know what to consider. Is this rock? Is this hip hop? Is this like
reggae?
Something? I don't know.
It's Cali mathcore. That's what it is.
Yeah, dude, it's Cali mathcore. Yeah. I think that's what they consider themselves. So
Yeah, and it's like, well, people hate them for being, too mainstream. Uh, People hate them for, for not being mainstream enough to fit inside their own, specific genre. Really, they're consistently, all over the place and consistently artistic, and I love the drumming, and I love, the way that they go about themselves, you know?
yeah, and I think when I first heard them, I was like, I don't get it.
Right?
But I think that that's a good thing. Like when you hear music that's really different, you shouldn't get it at first. But then when you kind of sit on it, you're like, okay, yeah, I do get it now. Like, it just took me a little while to understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
Yeah, it's because music, and this is a conversation that I had with Mercedes Arnhorn of the band Courage My Love. They'll be playing Warped Tour this year. Yeah, we were talking about music as a language and how when you hear it at first, you think, okay, I can kind of get this. And as you get into the more complicated, ideas of it, you begin to get into these dialects, these phrases, these trends, and you begin to, get the linguistics of it really start to pop out. Music that, you can hear and be like, oh, that's it. I mean, it's good, but it's not really making you think, is it? It's something that you can hear and be like, ooh, this is intriguing, I want to hear more. I want to, learn more about this before I can finally figure out what to call it, how to address it, interact with it, speak it.
yeah, it really is like, it's good music should create some new neural pathways in your brain, where it's like your brain needs to grow in order to understand this thing. It's your brain needs to spend some time with it to really wrap like your mind around it. And that's what I love about music, is when you hear something where you're like, I have never heard this noise before, I've never heard this sound like that they're using here before. It just expands your mind. It's so cool. I love that feeling of you pop in a new record and you're like, whoa,
yeah,
I've never heard that before. Like, it's blowing my mind right now. And I think that's like, I think really good music has some of that and then some of what and it's like it kind of leads you along a little bit. It's like, I'm going to give you a little bit of what but I'm also going to take you to a place where you haven't really been before.
Yeah. And that leads me back to the initial premise of this conversation, which was, when there's a surprise, if there's no surprise for the writer, there's no surprise for the listener. When you pop in that record and you're like, oh, this is new, I can only imagine the feeling that the writer must have gotten when he was writing that specific phrase. Oh, this is new. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like, there is during the Bill Murray self-titled album, there's a couple songs that I was writing, and I was like, I kind of like sat back and was like, I don't know of anyone who sounds like this. And not to like toot my own horn or anything, but it's really exciting as an artist to be like, I think that I created something unique here and like new. I don't know. It was really awesome to kind of have that feeling of, I think I did it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as we begin to, wind down, let me just ask you, like, is there what are some closing thoughts that you'd like to offer? What are some things you'd like to plug?
I mean, I'd say just go listen to Bill Murray if you like pop punk music or hardcore or whatever. I don't know. I'm really proud of the project and really happy with the music that has come from it. And yeah, I don't know. But also, I'm not sitting here taking myself too seriously or anything. Like, I like to have fun with it and make fun of it and shit like that. And like, but yeah, I mean, that's what I've been working on, and we're playing shows every once in a while. And I think for me, it's more moving it to like, I want to put out a lot of music, and I want to put out as much as I can. So that's what I've been working on. We got a new Jared Alonji record, Canadian softball album coming out.
Oh man,
I'm so pumped for that. we've started working on it. He comes in next week, and it's already like just amazing. So
I'm already
I'm really pumped on that.
I'm already cringing inwardly, but I'm also so hyped for that record.
Yeah, it's really gonna be. I feel like it'll be a time for Jared to really spread his wings comedically.
I hope he finds his library card at least.
Yeah, I hope he does, man.
All right. And to all of our listeners, you can find me at Grand Theft Academia, GRNDTHFT ACDMIA. Johnny, where can anyone looking to get their hands on Bill Murray, look?
Spotify is probably the best place. iTunes, all the normal things.
Right.
I have a Facebook page for it where I just post stupid jokes. So if you like stupid jokes, then go find it.
Yeah.
It's a unique spelling, so it's Bilmuri. So if you search it on Google, it'll come up.
All right. Bill Murray, and you said you're on Facebook, you're on Spotify, you're on Twitter?
Yep.
All right. All right. And again, those of you watching, feel free to go and tune in. Follow my Twitter at Grand Theft Academia. Follow my Instagram at Pereira.k. Johnny, thank you so much for taking the time to chat. I had a good time.
Same, man. Have a good day.
All right. Take it easy. Bye.
Bye.
Sickness scratches at nerves. A cold winter, it stays around. 'Cause I'm trying to survive, create a shelter in my mind, a place to run and hide from the death I feel inside. Keep me alive. Keep me alive. Keep me alive. 'Cause I can feel inside. Inside. Past left with the footsteps behind me. Consciousness leaves me behind to dwell in the future. I'm fighting my ghosts that were never real, always stuck in my head. I don't know how to feel. They tear down my mind, they take me away, give me Novocaine just to find an escape. I'm dying to survive.